Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to read Hero Academia chapter 239. Well, not really read, here to talk about chapter 239 of Hero Academia. With this chapter, we're effectively wrapping up the villain arc. It's been a wild ride. It's cool that we're finally here. And I'm happy to talk about it, man. I'm really happy to talk about it because in this chapter, we pretty much have the formation of the villain conglomerate. You know, it was a funny joke, haha, before, but now, no, we are actually doing the villain conglomerate. You know what? I'm pretty sure back in chapter 221, I voiced my doubts about it. I might have even said villain conglomerate back in that chapter. Anyway, not the point. If I have the video clip, I'll play it. Okay, not the point. The point is, that's where I feel that sometimes the author makes it seem bigger. So when I see the destruction of the League of Villains, I'm already thinking, okay, author, how are you going to spin that? Are you saying that the League of Villains is going to be destroyed and like a phoenix rise from the flames as something more like the conglomerate of villains? Are you saying the League of Villains are going to become legal and they're going to take over like a building and now they're, I don't know, what's villains backward? Nyliv. Yeah, they're gonna be. I hope I had the video clip. Moving on. We were talking about this from a very long time ago, and it's here. So I'm very happy because it actually worked out that way. I'm happy that we got into the villain conglomerate. I'm happy that I can call it the villain conglomerate. It'll probably have a different name. But conglomerate. You know what it is. It's largely the business. The things that occurred in this chapter, largely make sense. And in terms of just general things that I wanted to say, one thing that I found kind of cool, well, I kind of beat myself up for not noticing it, but there was there was the theme of All For One being a unifying figure in the past. Like he unified the villains underneath him, more or less. So when you consider that was a theme, I kind of beat myself up for not seeing that theme as another reason as to why Shigaraki was going to absorb the Liberation Army into his ranks. So I applaud the author for that one, for keeping the theme consistent, because that also ends up being the way that Gigantomachia eventually bows down in the chapter. But yeah, overall, I think this is the conclusion. I think that a lot of the things that happened at the end were more or less telegraphed, especially with last time's chapter. Oh man, it's already been it's been a week since we haven't been doing this. Yeah, because last week was a break. But yeah, hey, I hope you guys are all doing well. Anyway, yes, as I was saying, yeah, things were getting telegraphed with the last chapter, and I'm glad that the line of thought was maintained in this chapter and we had a reasonable conclusion. I am very excited to know what you guys all think. I know that in the last video, there was a lot of discussion about the direction of the story, but it's, Hero Academia is a shonen. It's going to fall to shonen trappings, and that's just the reality of the situation. The chapter proper. So the first page of the chapter, we're just, getting re-caught up. It's Spinner's reclaiming his narration. So if you notice, Spinner also ends the narration of the chapter. So this was just pretty much another framing device, just setting it up so that Spinner starts the chapter, Spinner ends the chapter. It's very interesting that Spinner is the POV character for these bits, and I do wonder what that means in relation to Izuku. Because if you remember, the Hero Academia story is from the perspective of Izuku. So I do wonder if if we're maintaining the narration of Izuku, I wonder if Izuku found out this story from Spinner, given that Spinner's the narrator. Of course, that's only feasible if we're saying that this has to work under the framework of Izuku telling the story. But this might just be a break away from the Izuku narrative, right? Like, it depends. Like, it's kind of hard to maintain a POV from Izuku's perspective when this story requires POVs from multiple points of view in order to actually be able to tell what's going on. Like, there are times already that the POV has broken whenever we're looking at All For One, right? Anyway, yeah, that's what the first chapter is. Oh, sorry, not the first chapter. The first page is just Spinner telling us what he's doing. The second page is where we're just seeing some stuff. The biggest thing in that second page, the second page is pretty much Shigaraki's face. It's like just a really nice art. It's kind of like setting us up for like this joy that Shigaraki is experiencing, because we do have a line later on that refers to joy. So the second page is largely useless, other than to just give us a quick update on where people are and to give us the Shigaraki joy panel, which builds into something later. Now we're going to the third page, and we have what I assume is All For One's dialogue, giving us context to the situation. So this builds off of that panel that we got on the previous page of Shigaraki's face, and it's talking about what it will take for Shigaraki to be free. Now the most important line there, I think, is the point about him accumulating both hatred and joy. We know that Shigaraki has had hatred for a very long time, but right now he's clearly embracing the joy aspect of it, and so now this has kind of become like a self-fulfilling prophecy, or has become a prophecy that's been fulfilled right now. With him saying that Shigaraki is truly free, we do know that Shigaraki has officially claimed joy and is now ready to step forward. This page is also where we start getting a little bit of Destro's perspective. He's trying to figure out what he's going to do in this fight versus Shigaraki. And then we lead into the next page, which is just Destro's runaway sequence, pretty much trying to get away from Shigaraki as Shigaraki's having fun destroying everything. This is also worth pointing out that Shigaraki said he wanted to destroy everything at the beginning, but now he's like really enjoying destruction, so he has fully come to embody this thing. You know, when it comes back to the rhetoric of whether or not Shigaraki is going to be redeemable at the end of the story, it's getting kind of sketchy, man. Like, even now I'm kind of like backing off here, because like he is fully embodying destruction. It may get to a point that even if All For One actually screwed with Shigaraki hard, Shigaraki might just not care anymore. And he might just say, okay, whatever, like I like destroying stuff anyway, which would be very terrifying. Right now, the chapters have definitely pushed me back towards thinking that Shigaraki might legitimately be the final villain here. There's, you know, I still think there's like a small percentage of All For One coming in and taking the villain role, but Shigaraki's really going hard here, man. Like, he's really enjoying stuff. Anyway, we go to the next page, I think the fifth page, and the fifth page is just another really nice shot of Shigaraki saying that he's going to break you, and then just more destruction. Again, the biggest thing here is the art. It's more or less a useless page in terms of details, because it's just reiterating things. Again, the art stands by itself, and I think it's pretty clear to see that the author had fun with that, with the art that he was doing. So, you know, all worthwhile. It really does, it makes the chapter feel more euphoric. It makes it feel like more happy, because it's just, again, it seems like a lot of fun, a lot of energy in the panels. And actually, you know, by the time you get to the sixth page, you're pretty much seeing like, yeah, this chapter does have that it does have that joyous swing to it. Because by the sixth page, it's pretty much another page of the things being destroyed, Destro running away, and Shigaraki laughing his butt off. Again, the big thing here is the bottom half of the page. Again, the emphasis on Shigaraki laughing, but we also have the shot of Destro looking back. And when he's looking back, he's not looking back with anger or fear. I recall, like last week, I mentioned that this is probably he's verging into admiration. I recall that someone in the comments might have suggested it was just like he's gotten beyond a point of fear. But with this chapter, you should see this was largely admiration and awe. Like, he's watching someone who's living up to the ideals of Destro in a way he didn't think was possible. But yes. So I do love what the author did there with having Destro look back towards Shigaraki, because when he's looking back there, it looks like a guy who's just, you know, there's a lack of emotion there. Aside from maybe from the face, you can kind of just tell a little bit of just observation, like he's observing it, like from a neutral perspective. Again, I do like the framing for how the author did the joyous Shigaraki. And then, you know, I'm talking about Destro being swayed, but the seventh page will show you, again, it's showing Shigaraki in the middle of destruction, laughing his butt off, and this time the face Destro has is clearly the face of a guy watching his god being born, pretty much. Like, he's seeing this and he's like, whoa. Like, the light is shining in his eyes. Like, actually, like, when you look at the way that the author drew the panel, you can see light shining in his eye. Like, the guy's legitimately seeing the light of Shigaraki. That's kind of terrifying. Anyway, page, the eighth page is a double page. And we see what happened. We have like the full thing being destroyed. That's definitely going to be a news event. You have Gigantomachia stepping in. And this is one of the first times I think we've seen Gigantomachia's pupils properly. But Gigantomachia is feeling the awe as well. It's kind of, actually, it's kind of interesting to see Gigantomachia's face like that. Huh. Nice. Anyway, yes, we also get to see here, and this is something I missed on the first read through, because if Shigaraki didn't tell me, I wouldn't have noticed it. Destro cut off his legs to get rid of the decay effect. So that was actually a pretty cool panel. Overall, that it's a nice piece. But the author really wanted to emphasize the destruction that Shigaraki was causing. Yeah, I mentioned the news event. There's probably no way that this is not getting covered in the news. Like, the heroes are gonna know something weird happened here, right? Anyway, we go into, I think, the 10th page, and we are getting the narration. Again, Shigaraki's giving us context to what just happened. We're also seeing how destroyed his body is. I mentioned last week that I didn't really see any real limits to Shigaraki's power here. And someone pointed out to me that Shigaraki was vomiting all over the place. And it's like, yeah, you know, it's one thing to say that Shigaraki's vomiting, but I see no real limitations here. Like right now, Shigaraki on this page, he comes through with all these, really mangled bones. But it's like, is that from the decay effect? I don't know. The fact is, Shigaraki just leveled a whole town. No matter how you look at, even if we bring up the vomiting and all that, it's hard to say whether or not that was actually from sleep deprivation or if that was from his quirk. It's kind of hard to say. Sleep deprivation, you'll start doing really weird things there, right? So I'm looking at this and it's like the cons are not outweighing the pros here. So I want to know if anyone's going to take this point. Do you think the cons of Shigaraki's quirk are outweighing the destruction that the man just caused? Because when you look at it, the man just leveled, well, how do you even look at that? That's a good old, I would say about 8 city blocks. It seems like he destroyed at least 8 city blocks wide. Who knows how long the actual city blocks that he destroyed were. The cons are not outweighing the pros here of that quirk. Even if the damage that we see on page 10 is caused slightly by the quirk, and it might be because I see like a little effect on Shigaraki's arm. This is by far one of the best quirk exchanges in terms of power. This is very unfair, is what I'm trying to say. Like, it looks very unfair. Damage that I'm seeing on Shigaraki right now looks to me like it might be more of the things that Destro caused. Although I will say I don't remember Shigaraki breaking his leg. So this could go either way. If Shigaraki is breaking bones by using decay a lot, then I feel like that's a worthwhile. That's making things better, but it's like the guy, if he decides he's okay with breaking a few bones, he could destroy a whole city, right? I'm actually very interested. I'm talking myself into thinking like there might actually be some serious repercussions here, but it's just not clear enough. I might have to read through again just to make sure, like reread all the chapters. Anyway, I would love to know what you guys think down below. Let me know. Anyway, like I was saying, page 10 is Shigaraki commenting, giving us some context, and then Shigaraki talking about how Destro picked a fight with them, of course. Then we go into page 11, and page 11 is just everyone coming in, everyone getting ready to attack. And we have a little intimidation moment from Shigaraki. The big thing here being that people are not willing to get in the way. So that was a kind of cool statement that this guy's quirk was not affecting them. It pretty much says that Shigaraki is so scary that a quirk's effect are being nullified. That's just like a palpable fear. I think that was a pretty cool move. I think it's a bit aggressive to say that Shigaraki has that much of a presence right now. But, you know, they're building up that Shigaraki is going to be this really powerful villain, so okay. Then you have page 12, which is, of course, the beginning of the villain conglomerate. You have Destro admitting defeat, and you have him starting to walk into the rhetoric about what we were pretty much thinking was happening in the previous chapter. So he goes into his little rhetoric that Shigaraki is the true liberated person. And you know, like bringing up the stuff we talked about in the previous chapter, this rhetoric makes sense. We saw this rhetoric. When you looked at the way that the author was building up the situation, you could see where this rhetoric was going. You could see that this moment that's happening right now on page 13, this was being telegraphed from the previous chapter. The moment that Destro started looking back at his past and started seeing that kid and started losing his stress, we knew it was going to go down somewhere down this direction. Of course, this page is also the spot where we have Gigantomachia seeing his old master in Shigaraki. I do, again, like I said at the beginning, I love that the author used the unifying image of All for One as the thing that that Gigantomachia saw in Shigaraki. I very much do love that. So of course we go into page 14-15 where we see the mighty bowing down page, Shigaraki and Destro. The Superpower Liberation Army is yours to command. The man just gave it over. So that's very interesting. And of course, I do appreciate this from the author, but that panel also had them talking about if they cooperated with Shizaki's group, they could have been having money, and then having it end with Shigaraki asking about money. I think that's actually, from a writing perspective, that's actually a really cool bookend. You gotta appreciate bookends when the author does it, because now it's pretty much like, when you look back, when you look at this chapter and you look at all the bookends that we had, it makes you feel like, oh yeah, like he planned this more or less, which makes it feel pretty cool. And of course, at this page, we also finish it off with another bookend of Spinner giving all the narrations. Spinner's now fully on the Shigaraki train from what it seems, and we get little information that the story is starting to pick up and no one could stop it. So, as to whether or not I believe this narration, that no one could stop the story picking up, yeah, I believe that one, because it's like, yeah, it's positive, so it's probably not doom. Well, if it's doom and gloom, I don't trust the author. If it's positive, it's probably correct. On that note, I should say, like, too, like, some people could read that situation in chapter 222, I think, and say like, oh, like the League of Villains is going to be destroyed by the heroes anyway, so this is the start of their destruction. And it's still like, you're trying to argue in favor of the author, but it's not working there. I shouldn't go back to that point, but point overall for the chapter, and we're 20 minutes in, so hopefully we'll be done here quick. Yeah, point overall of the chapter, it's a chapter of conclusions. It's a chapter of wrapping things up. The big question for me now is, are we getting an epilogue chapter for this arc? Of just seeing what the villains did immediately after, or are we gonna get a Fallout chapter, which is just everyone else reacting to what the villains did? I think it's actually kind of hard to say. I think I'd be happier with a epilogue chapter. I'd be much happier with going into seeing the next move the villains make. And that's kind of where I'm looking here, but we'll have to see. So overall, like I said, it's a cool chapter. There's a lot of cool imagery. The author really went hard with the Shigaraki imagery. Even the imagery on the final page was very impressive. I'm very much into it. It was a very cool chapter. So guys, I'm very curious to know what you think down below. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about where we started, where we ended up? Do you feel that the Super Liberation Army giving it up so quickly was just kind of unreasonable? I do want to say, I do think that the arc at the end was a little bit rushed. I think that the author got statistics or data from the little readers in Japan saying that they weren't really feeling this arc, and so he's just kind of like snapped it up. The lack of explanations might be the big indicator here. When you have fights being skipped, or you have an uneven representation in the villains as well, there's a lot of clues here to say that this had to be rushed at the last minute. And even here with Destro, the things that you can use to justify Destro giving over the Liberation Army, like he started planting them in the previous chapter. The only other thing is that from Apocrypha, we know that the Liberation Army is completely willing to, well, the Liberation Army is willing to have the one with the best quirk being at the top. So you can maybe also still argue like the rhetoric from what we've seen from Apocrypha still makes it compatible with the idea that Destro would just give the Liberation Army over to Shigaraki. There's a lot of ways to argue why this is a legitimate conclusion, although I think maybe the majority of readers would have enjoyed a little bit more reasoning. Although, like, again, we understand from Destro's perspective, Destro is totally taken or totally smitten by Shigaraki. He's totally on the Shigaraki train, right? I think that's pretty much clear to see. I feel like I have one more thing I wanted to say about this. Let me just think real quick. Oh, yeah, I remember that for a few chapters ago, like, there was still people talking about what Destro really believed in. And I think with this chapter, you know, like the implications of Destro's beliefs are getting a little bit more muddied. But he clearly believes in liberation. But when you see this chapter and you see that he's willing to put his stock behind Shigaraki, you realize like this is a man who's willing to give it all up to a guy that just feels liberated in destruction, right? Like the superhuman liberation army is going to be the end of society if the heroes don't get in the way, right? I don't have a full thought for that one. I just wanted to bring that up. I think Destro's morals and his overall goals, you know, like they're at a point, like his goals lie at a point where it doesn't really care about whether or not society develops anymore. So this guy is pretty much signing off on society being destroyed under Shigaraki's grip. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I can't place the thought that I wanted to articulate. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Overall, I think it's a really cool chapter. A lot of art. The point of the chapter was definitely to show Shigaraki being happy and to give the villains their big upgrade. Now they got money. So guys, let me know what you thought down below. Let me know any comments or criticisms. Let me know if you thought this chapter was too idealistic or too convenient. I'm always willing to read those comments. And yeah, till next time, I hope you have a great day.